What's up, everybody? Welcome to College Basketball Recruiting Weekly. I'm your host, the 24/7 Sports Director of Scouting, Adam Finkelstein, and once again, we've got an exciting show for you. We've seen some movement in the last few days. Caleb Love, he's not going to Michigan, he's going to Arizona. Elliott Cadeau, we knew he was going to North Carolina, and now we know he's going in 2023. This past weekend, we had both the Nike EYBL and USA Basketball 16 and under trials. We will recap both of those events, and last but not least, we will look at new faces in new places as we examine how first-year head coaches are doing in their initial offseason. A year ago, Caleb Love led North Carolina all the way to the finals of the NCAA tournament. Then, he delighted Tar Heel fans by saying he was coming back to Chapel Hill. But this year didn't go as expected, so he went into the transfer portal, he committed to Michigan, and then he reopened his recruitment again. Now, he's headed to Arizona. All right, guys, Caleb Love, he's going to Arizona. Trav, how did we get to this point? Because he dropped this as a little bit of a surprise on Tuesday afternoon on Twitter.
Yeah, after he decommitted from Michigan, the four main targets in this recruitment were Gonzaga, Arizona, Texas, and UConn. They were keeping this extremely tight to the vest. He actually went on campus for a visit in Tucson over the weekend, which they did a great job of keeping a secret, keeping it very tight to their chest. During that time on campus, it clearly went extremely well. Word is he committed while with the program, and then not too long after, we get the official announcement on Tuesday, which happened a little quicker than I think many, like myself, even would have thought. Many would have thought that he would have taken this another visit at least to Texas, but he was ready to pull the trigger, and here he is with giving Arizona one of the most talented backcourts in the country.
All right, now, Bossy, I have my own take on this, but what do you think of the fit at Arizona?
There's a couple ways to look at it. One, we'll look at it individually, and then two, we'll look at it from a team standpoint. From an individual fit, I think it's going to be good because at North Carolina, I think Love had to handle a lot of playmaking duties that maybe took away from his offense a little bit or put him in kind of a funky spot, because I think at his core, he's a scorer. So I think that pairing him alongside a more traditional, true pass-first type point guard and Jaden Bradley, the Alabama transfer, is going to be good for Love so he can focus on his scoring. Now, if you're looking at it a team set, you've got some guys who play together, but now the question if you're Arizona is, who is going to be your threat from deep? Because Jaden Bradley is not a shooter from deep. Caleb Love has been a taker from deep, but maybe not as much of a maker thus far. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see is, can he raise his percentages and be a bit more efficient when you strip him of some of the playmaking duties that he had at North Carolina.
All right, now, Trav, you jumped in on Twitter today about that fit in the backcourt, bringing up another guard in that rotation. So I will ask you as well, what's your take on this fit at Arizona?
Is very interesting. I think this could potentially be a three-guard lineup, and we could see Pele Larson coming off the bench where he has excelled as one of the best sixth men in the country, and you could see Keyshawn Johnson jumping in at that 4 spot and Umar Ballo at the 5. So with Kylan Boswell, there would be your shooting and some great decision-making also out of Jaden Bradley, another, as Bossy said, a guy who can facilitate and set the table for others, but also he can get downhill and be a really good defender. Has great experience with Alabama this past year, just knowing what it takes to win at the highest level of college basketball. So those three guys, it's going to be interesting. I don't think it's necessarily a perfect match between the three, but you got a lot of time between now and November.
I think the other variable in all of this is Tommy Lloyd is a very good offensive coach. I mean, his X's and O's and understanding and ability to teach concepts really second to none. So, Bossy, I couldn't agree more with the fact that put him next to Bradley. The game's going to be simplified for Caleb Love. He's not going to try and show everybody he's a lead guard, just going to be able to score the ball. Hopefully he'll shy away from some of those tough twos that were really his downfall many times at North Carolina. But to Trav's point, the way that Tommy Lloyd has rebuilt this roster, you've got Ballo inside, true big man. Spacing is going to be crucial, but I think this could be a very good situation for Caleb Love. We'll certainly know more in the next year. All right, for much more on this, be sure to visit 247sports.com. We've got you covered on all things transfer portal. Caleb Love may be leaving North Carolina, but Elliott Cadeau, he's coming right now. And in fact, we knew this was a possibility way back in December when he announced his commitment to the Tar Heels live on the 24/7 Sports channel. But now, after dominating the EYBL for the last 2 months, he says he's coming right now. All right, this wasn't exactly a surprise. In fact, when Elliott Cadeau committed in December, I remember asking him kind of backstage at that Made Hoops event. I said, so you going in 23 or 24? It was one of those things where like his mom said one thing, he said another, and then they're like, oh, we got to talk about it. But this is, had become something that we were all expecting at this point. I don't think it's any coincidence that it happened after the portal closed. So, Bossy, I will begin with you. What do we make of this kind of new look, somewhat old look North Carolina backcourt at this point?
Yeah, I think what we're going to see is that playmaking for the last couple of years and a guy to get the ball to shooters and things like that has been a little bit of a problem for North Carolina, because you had R.J. Davis and Caleb Love, who are natural scorers, trying to facilitate as well. Seth Trimble was a freshman last year, who is more of a traditional point guard, but he was just getting his feet wet with college basketball, so he didn't have the experience. So now you bring in Cadeau, a guy who is clearly a top-shelf playmaker, a guy who I think's game translates pretty easily to the next level. Now when you look at a team that's going to have R.J. Davis back, they're bringing in Cormac Ryan from Notre Dame, I think you're going to have a couple shooters on the wings for him to get the ball to. I think Trimble with another year of experience is going to help ease that transition for Cadeau. And I really like the way the newly reworked backcourt is going to look for Carolina. I think it's going to allow them to play faster, keep the floor more spread, and at the end of the day, it's going to open up space for Armando Bacot to operate on the inside, and that should be a win for everyone involved.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Of course, you also have Simeon Wiltshire coming in that backcourt, brings you another kind of playmaking combo guard, so depth becomes a definite asset for North Carolina on the perimeter, and ideally they have upgraded both their perimeter shooting and the willingness of the ball movers, shall we say. Trav, Carolina may not be done remaking this roster for next season. What do we know about kind of where they are at in that process?
Yeah, they got a big visit on campus this week in Jarin Stevenson. He's a 5-star top 15 prospect in the 2024 class, but there is a good chance that he could enroll early and reclassify up to the 2023 class. I spoke with him over the weekend in Memphis at the Nike EYBL Session 4, and he previewed his visit with me. This is an in-state recruit whose mom actually played at North Carolina. He's been on several other visits, but if I'm really looking at the top two contenders to land this commitment, I'm looking at Virginia and North Carolina. So we should have an answer in the coming weeks. He has been on record saying it could be as early as the end of the school year for him, which is in the next 2 weeks, in early June. He also told me it could also come at the end of summer. But one way or the other, this is a kid that is a 5-star prospect that could, and we could see a part of this North Carolina program next season.
And guys, just to put a bow on all this, I remember when Cadeau initially committed to December, and for those who have watched the 24/7 Sports channel and this show in particular, we have told you that there was going to be a huge reclassification trend, and that has in fact happened, but it may not be over yet. As you heard Travis say, Jarin Stevenson, potentially others, could look at joining the class of 2023 before the summer is at an end. All right, for more on North Carolina's future and some of the young guys that could be headed their way, we know one is definitely, another one might be. You can check out that screen behind you, and of course, visit 247sports.com and Inside Carolina. It was a busy weekend of basketball for Memorial Day weekend. Travis Branham and I, we were in Memphis for Session 4 of the Nike EYBL, where this guy, Cooper Flagg, he put up what I like to call video game numbers. That wasn't the only event, though, as Eric Bossy was in Colorado Springs to watch the USA Basketball trials for the 16 and under national team. We're going to break it all down. All right, A-Boss, I'm going to start with you. You were at Colorado Springs USA Basketball 16 and under national team trials, and there were a little less than 40 players who went hoping to make the national team. You got to watch those tryouts, for lack of a better word. What was your biggest impression coming out of Colorado Springs?
My biggest impression is that the teams facing off against the USA 16U national team in the FIBA Americas tournament next week in Mexico, Yucatan, Mexico, are in deep, deep trouble, because this is going to be a loaded group, and depending on how things fall, it's not going to be a surprise, honestly, if we see this team win by 60, 70, maybe even 80 points in a game or two in pool play. They're that loaded. Want to start off with 2025's number one player, Cameron Boozer, who did nothing to hurt his stock as the number one player. The skill, the feel for the game, everything is there. You know, we've loved his post moves and what he can do, but he's turning into a near knockdown shooter from the three-point line now, on top of becoming a big-time playmaker for others with his passing. It's just like, what more can the guy do? He's not even going to be 16 until July. From the class of 2026, the guy who would be my personal favorite, even though we're not going to rank that class till after the summer, to take that number one spot is AJ Dabansa. He's a near 6'8" wing out of the Boston area, who it wouldn't surprise me if he leads the team in scoring. Ferocious competitor, attacks the rim with shooting the ball well. Really, no one could deal with him. And then, you know, another guy that really stood out to me is Darren Peterson, a 2025 shooting guard who has impressed us all spring long with his scoring, playing on the Adidas 3SSB circuit. But what really stood out to me at USA Basketball is what he can do as a playmaker with the ball in his hands. I've never really seen him play in pick and roll basketball before, and his reads were tremendous, whether it was as a scorer or a guy setting up others. So, you know, while we've got him as a shooting guard, I could see him as more of a combo or maybe even a scoring point down the road. But the bottom line is the 12 guys that get kept on this team, it's going to be stacked. There's going to be some elite players that get cut for the first time in their lives, and it's just going to be where it goes. But, man, it's going to be a loaded group. And like I said, I can see some serious beatdowns coming in Mexico next week.
Yeah, a lot of talk about how this could be the most talented 16 and under team USA has produced in over a decade. While you were in Colorado, Travis and I were in Memphis sampling the local barbecue cuisine and also watching some basketball. I do have recommendations about barbecue in the after-hour show notes. Travis, I will start with you. Which player, single perhaps, let's start there. Which single player moved the needle for you most this weekend?
It is not even a question to me. Patrick Ngangba, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that, but big man out of team takeover, and Paul VI Catholic was absolutely outstanding, and a guy that I think could make as big of a jump as we have seen in some time. The last guy I can possibly remember is Cam Whitmore in the month of June going into his senior year when he leaped from outside the top 100 up into the top 30. And I do envision Patrick making a similar leap. He's improved a tremendous amount. 6'10", big body prospect, great hands and touch. His mobility, his athleticism is continuing to improve. He was dominant on the block. Nobody really seemed to have an answer for him in the low post. But what really jumped out was when he was grabbing defensive rebounds and even pushing the break and then facilitating out of that and hitting open shooters for threes. Just an absolutely impressive weekend, and somebody that I am personally or is currently trending towards being a top 5 big man, if not top 3 in this 2024 class.
Yeah, I would agree. He was tremendous this weekend, and I think, you know, I got a call today and said, how is he in the 70s? I said, well, because we haven't updated rankings yet. That's why. But guess what? He's gonna make a significant jump. All right, now, the guy who moved the needle for me the most, we're gonna keep this the all pronunciation team. So Basi, jump in here and correct me. Is it Con Nupel? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, I don't know. I always thought it was Con Knepel, but either
well,
way,
we're gonna
it's Con go get a bucket, he's filled.
Yeah.
I actually confirmed with him. Bossy has it right. It is Knepel.
Okay. Con Knepel, the player that impressed me the most, I'm just going to call him Con Buckets, because this guy finished the EYBL regular season as the leading scorer in the league. And I'll tell you what, initially people underestimate him because he's got a strong build. He's not the most explosive athlete. He's not the quickest guy, but I'll tell you what he is. He is arguably the most skilled offensive player in the league. He is a knockdown shooter from behind the three-point line, and he's not one-dimensional either. This guy can put it on the floor, he can create, he can pass the ball. You put the ball in his hands, he is a reliable decision maker. So as I said, he finishes as the leading scorer in the EYBL, but he does so with efficiency and not on a high-volume shot-jacking approach. So he was, in my mind, the biggest takeaway from Phenom University in the entire EYBL. Trav, I'm going to go back to you. Give me one other name of someone who, again, moved the needle or made a big impression for you this weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to continue to pump the hype train of Caleb Wilson. Uh, Currently inside of our top 10. When I got to see him at the first EYBL session, he was a guy that made a big jump in my mind. Last summer, he was just a baby out there. He was still trying to find his legs. He was really thin and physically immature, but the skill set, you could see all the potential he had with his ability to put the ball on the floor and make shots, block shots, rebound, push a break. But piecing it all together was something that we were wanting to see if he could do. And without a doubt, he is absolutely doing it. And this may, I don't want people to really take this and run with this too much, but having watched so much basketball in the Atlanta area, he kind of reminds me of Jabari Smith. 6'9", 6'10" power forward who can dribble, pass, and shoot. And the reason I really kind of go back to Jabari is every single time I watch Caleb Wilson, similar to Jabari Smith in high school, he gets better. Whether it's shooting the basketball, passing the basketball, putting the ball on the ground, defense, you can name any sort of category. He's making improvements in one of those. And so that's why I go back to Jabari. And in my mind, this kid is pushing top 5 in every sense.
All right. I echo that sentiment. He is a very promising young player. I'm going to talk about Team Thad, Darion Reed. Again, a guy who scores the ball consistently every time out. In fact, he had double figures in every game in the EYBL this season on a Team Thad team that is one of the very best in the EYBL. The other thing that really stands out to me about him is the versatility with which he can attack the basket. You can call him a big wing, you can call him a combo forward. I don't think it matters, but what I can tell you is that you can put him on various spots on the floor, mid-post, transition, on the wing, top of the key, and he can figure out how to get his shot in different ways. And when you look at the numbers, he does it in efficient ways. So with updated rankings coming up now closer and closer on the horizon, he is another player that you should expect to make a notable jump. All right, again, that is the recap from last weekend from Colorado to Memphis. We will continue to be on the road in the coming weeks, and you can find all of that 247sports.com, along with recruiting updates and further analysis from both of these events. They may not have coached a game at their new schools yet, but these first-year head coaches have done a lot of work in the offseason. We are going to break down which of these newcomers has done the best job of remaking their roster. All right, Bossy, Rick Pitino, he's got 9 new faces coming to New York City and St. John's. What do we make of his first offseason?
And Adam, that's just from the transfer portal alone when we're talking about the 9 guys, because he also signed top 150 player Brady Dunlap out of the high school ranks. I think that this is as good as could be expected from Pitino with taking the job in the spring. You know, there weren't exactly a lot of high-level high school guys around. I think there was all the buzz that, ooh, he's going to come in and he's going to get Ian Jackson to decommit from North Carolina and enroll early. I think that was a little bit ambitious, but looking at him get guys like Jordan Dingle, guys like R.J. Lewis from UMass, another, big guys like Zubi Ejiofor, and bringing over some guys from Iona. He's put together a nice core, guys who compete, guys who I think can make a legitimate run in the NCAA tournament. So what he's done, he's gotten St. John's back on solid footing, and with a team that can compete in the Big East to be at least a 500 Big East team, maybe even a top 25, top 35 team nationally, and compete for the NCAA tournament. Now the key is going to be, how deep can he get in with some of these high school kids, right? I'm not saying he has to land a kid like Boogie Fland in the class of 2024, but let's see how much cachet he still has with these guys. Can he get deep with a big name from New York City and get him to seriously consider St. John's, or is the transfer portal route going to be the route that he's going to have to go down in the future?
It's going to be very interesting. I'll tell you one thing about the Big East. It is going to be no joke next season. So the non-conference play of everyone in the Big East is going to be critical, because they're going to beat up on each other once conference season starts. Speaking of beating up on each other in the Big East, Ed Cooley in Georgetown, previously of Providence, known for that physical interior style. He's another coach that arrived at the new job, had to totally remake the roster, and it's still a work in progress. Just yesterday, earlier this week, depending on when you're watching it, you saw Drew McKenna commit to Georgetown, reclassify up to the class of 2023. Like St. John's, they swung big, tried to get in there on Hunter Dickinson. This is a team that I think is going to start the year a lot like some of the past Providence teams, where maybe they go a little bit under the radar and people say, they don't have quite the same star power. But look out, because that's exactly how Ed Cooley likes it. They're going to sit there. They're going to run their flex every once in a while. They're going to hit you. They're going to pound you. They're going to play physical. And this team, as always, will be a contender under Cooley. Out west, we're going to go. Trav, you have Mark Madsen and Cal. What do you like about what they've done?
Yeah, when you look at what Mark Madsen has been able to do at California, to me, of all the new head coaches, he is doing the most with the least. This California program has been completely depleted. He's walking into a program that had, if I can remember correctly, 1 or 2 wins this past season. The athletic department seems to be taking this seriously this time around. The last staff really didn't have much chance of success, but they're seemingly investing into this program, and Mark Madsen's really taking this opportunity, running with it. They retained their 2 high school commitments that the previous staff was able to get in Rodney Brown and Devin Curtis, 2 upside talented players. And then most importantly, they went into the portal and they really were able to replenish this roster to make them, I think, we're going to see a big jump out of them. You won't be seeing them with these 1-2 win seasons anymore. We'll see them really having giving some people some real fits. One guy that jumps out more than anybody is obviously Fardaz Amack, big man out of Texas Tech, played for Mark Madsen at Utah Valley. Just very big post player with skill, rebounds. Going to be very, very productive. Another one out of Northern Arizona, Jalen Cone, a bucket-getting point guard who can also set the table and create for others. He was a highly coveted recruit when he hit the transfer portal. So for California to go out and win that recruiting battle is extremely impressive. Then you also add in Mike Meadows and then Jalen Tyson, who they had to duke it out with Kansas, a blue blood. Both really wanted him. And Jalen Tyson is a versatile forward prospect that is going to have an extremely impactful career while with the Golden Bears.
All right, one other first-year head coach to note, and of course this is NBA draft withdrawal week, and talk about retention being really important. How about Chris Beard getting Matt Morrell back, something I'm really excited to see in his first season at Ole Miss. All right, for all of the withdrawals from the NBA draft, the transfer portal coverage, and everything else, be sure to visit 247sports.com. That's a wrap on this week's show. Thank you to Eric Bossi and Travis Branham for joining us. We will be back with you next week, but until then, you know where to find us, 247sports.com and the 24/7 Sports channel.